Welcome into the Fools on Stools Podcast. My name is Cullen Brown, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Anthony Council. Today is Friday, June 24th, 2022. Hopefully you're all having a great day today. We got a lot to talk about in the sports world, everything ranging from the NBA draft to Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, some of the MLB's brightest stars, and of course, everything in around the world of sports with Arch Manning, Live Golf, and of course, everything that we got in hour two. Make sure you guys tune into that. Anthony, my friend, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Cannot complain. You know, it is Friday, and it's a good day.
It's a damn good day. Now, viewers, you may be noticing that we got somebody new leading in hour one. Our good friend and co-host Kevin Walker is not going to be joining us in studio today. He is going to be out of town. I believe traveling to the
Bahamas.
The Bahamas.
At least that's what I'm thinking. It's the Bahamas.
Yes, traveling to the Bahamas. You know what? He could on our budget. He could travel anywhere.
Hey, man, look, go off, man.
Absolutely,
enjoy that vacation.
Yeah,
get that tan and try to grow that mullet back. Also,
we need the mullet.
Yes.
Mullet Kevin was top tier.
Yeah, mullet Kevin was top tier.
We got a good version of Kevin right now, but mullet Kevin,
yes,
should have seen him in his prime.
Yeah, man. I'm kind of shocked that he's not here for his little Texas talk an hour too.
I know.
I mean, there's a lot going on, man.
Arch Manning, seriously, and he's not here.
Yeah,
it's a crime.
It's crazy, man.
It's a crime. But he will be here with us in spirit. Again, thank you joining us here on the Fools on Stools podcast. You can tune in wherever you're listening to, whether it is Spotify, Apple Music, and make sure you follow us again on social media, Instagram, Twitter, get out of Snapchat, wherever. But without any further ado, as Kevin might say, let's take it over to the association. There happened to be something pretty big last night. Some futures were determined here in the NBA. The NBA draft 2022 was happening last night, and there was a couple shocks.
Yeah, man. Like it was a shocker. I mean, like I'm not gonna lie, the projected number one overall pick, Jabari Smith, you know, they had him going number one to Orlando for the longest time, even up to the to Adam Silver, you know, naming the number one pick. And when Banchero went first, it was like, I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked. I think that they picked the right person, but it's like, I mean, the Magic have had, you know, ups and downs when it comes to picks, and aside from the Sacramento Kings, which I think they missed again, but the Orlando Magic, I think they did a good job because they picked the player with the most talent. Banchero is a player who really can do everything. He can defend, he can shoot the mid-range. He has a high work ethic, a high motor as well. Nothing against Jabari Smith and nothing against Chet Holmgren. I just think that they just picked the guy with the best talent, and I think that was a great job by them.
Yeah, so you, in your opinion, you believe that Paolo Banchero was the number one overall player in this draft?
I think he had the best skill set, all around. Nothing against Jabari Smith. I think if you look at his ceiling, possibly he could just be a 3-and-D guy. I mean, you can kind of compare Jabari Smith to a little bit of a Kevin Durant right now, just by the body shape, not skill wise, obviously, you know, two-time champion, but I think the skill wise and just how his body is shaped, definitely like a Kevin Durant. But also, I think Banchero, he was just the most pro ready,
absolutely,
for the NBA. So I think the Magic picked the Magic with the right pick.
Right. So the one thing I wanted to get into is, because you're right, I think when we were doing this podcast, what was it, Tuesday, I think we all kind of were under the opinion that Jabari was going to go first.
Yeah.
And then the day of, if you looked at, as I tend to do in my spare time, I look at the odds of stuff. The odds dramatically shifted to Paolo Banchero being drafted. But then Orlando was still coming out and being like, oh, no, we're not sure. You know, we're still thinking Jabari. They had, you know, interviews and draft workouts with both Jabari Smith and Chet Holmgren. But it still, they never even worked out Paolo Banchero.
Right. And I was like shocked.
And they still took him number one. It just kind of confused me a little bit because Orlando, you own the number one overall pick. What are you doing trying to screw up everybody's draft boards? It's like you're not bluffing anybody. You're bluffing yourself, if anything. Now, obviously, they took the player that they wanted because they had the selection of everybody. And I do believe Paolo, in terms of his offensive skill set, is the most pro-ready. I think he can immediately step onto an NBA floor and give you somewhere between 14 and 18 points, easy. Because I think he's a very physical offensive player. I think he's a very fluid, 3-level scorer that can really contribute in this league for a long time. And I think he's a really safe option. You mentioned Jabari Smith from Auburn. He, to me, is going to be the guy that's going to fit no matter where he goes just because of his skill set, the fact that he can shoot, the fact that he's long, the fact that he can defend. He's going to be a very hot commodity for any NBA team, hopefully for the Houston Rockets because they did draft him, but for any NBA franchise, they're going to be looking in future drafts being like, okay, what skill set's closest to Jabari Smith, in my opinion? Chet Holmgren, the one we haven't talked about in the top 3 yet.
Man, bro. Chet, I'm not going to lie. Like, looking at that team with the Oklahoma City Thunder, just the Oklahoma City Thunder in general with their draft this year, they hit it out the park. I mean, they did a great job. They got Jalen Williams and I think Jalen Williams.
Jalen Williams,
yeah. They got both Jalen Williams in the draft. They got Chet Holmgren, which is, I think, their pinnacle of their centerpiece. Because, I mean, you got Josh Giddey, you got
SGA.
Yeah, SGA, you got Lou Dort.
Yeah.
And I think that all they needed was a kind of centerpiece who is kind of different. He's not your modern center. He's kind of
he's definitely a wing. Like, he plays like a wing.
Yeah, he plays like a guard. He's 7 foot. He can shoot the 3. A lot of people kind of have him like compared to a Dirk, kind of, and I kind of see that just because of his shooting ability. He can shoot the 3 well. He can defend really well too, and I mean, he has the confidence of the highest confidence I think in this draft. Just from what he said, I remember I saw an interview of him, and they asked him, "So who's the best player in the NBA?" And he was like, "Me in 2 months." And I was like, "Hey man, look, wait until you play Giannis." I'm just saying,
right?
But the confidence is there, and then that's what you need in your player, in your potential franchise player, especially if it's your centerpiece for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I did see that exact interview quote that you just referenced to, and I also was just like, okay, what are you doing? NBA draft, you're not trying to cause any red flags, basically being like, is this guy really like a head case, whatever.
Right.
Chet, to me, seems like the guy that, yes, he does need to put on some weight. I don't know, based on how his frame looks, how much weight he can put on. I do think he can add some, and I think he will over the course of his NBA career, now that he doesn't have to focus on classes or any other thing other than basketball. To me, he's the most intriguing because if he pans out, he easily has the highest ceiling, in my opinion, in the draft, just because of his rare combination of size, skill, length, everything. And I think he can be a very capable defender, definitely an easy rim protector due to his length. And I think he can be, because of I think he is underrated for his size, lateral quickness. Also, do I expect him to be checking 6'2" guards, at the perimeter, 94 feet? No, but I still think he can be a very good contributor. And Oklahoma City is in a place where they're not really expecting to compete anytime soon.
Right.
Chet's got a lot of time to improve his game, hit the weight room, work on his nutrition, all of it. And I think it was a great landing place for him. And who knows, Sam Presti's had a really great track record with drafting these guys. So who are we to say that Sam Presti made the wrong pick, if anything? So,
I mean, now the only thing with Sam Presti is, and I was watching First Take, and I kind of agree with what Stephen A. said. Sam Presti's a great owner.
You mean general manager?
General manager, excuse me.
Yeah.
It's just the biggest thing is, when are you gonna, like he said,
put it together?
Put it together. I mean, you had 3 MVPs on your team. You draft well. I mean, Sam Presti drafts phenomenally. Like, you got Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. But you only made it to 1 NBA Finals.
Right.
Right? And you went against a LeBron James team, which was amazing. And I mean, this team, with all their draft picks, they got to at least put it together and get to a finals, at least. I'm not saying they're going to do it this year, but they have multiple draft picks. And, I mean, they just got to be able to put it all together, especially with Chet. That's kind of your centerpiece. And just put it all together and at least get to the playoffs. At least you guys haven't been there in a minute.
That should be the goal. And I think they'll see kind of how everything blends together. SGA gets another year under his belt. Josh Giddey, another year. Lou Dort, Pokusevski. I apologize if I didn't pronounce his name correctly.
They're like the Twin Towers up there, man. Pokusevski and Chet, that's going to be elite, man.
That's going to be a problem. And I think they'll be interesting. And I think Presti, he's playing the long game. And don't get me wrong, I understand that he might have the longest leash in terms of a general manager job security in sports because of his draft history. So he's using it to his advantage. He's like, hey, listen, we're going to draft these project guys. We're going to develop them. We trust our coaching staff. We trust our, athletic trainers, all of that in order to get the best possible team simulated. And once he feels like the team's maybe like a piece or two away, or maybe they're in a position that they could get, one of these top level guys to come to Oklahoma City, he's got draft picks out the wazoo that he can sit there and package in a trade and send them off to potentially make Oklahoma City a title contender. So I don't necessarily mind it. I understand the criticism, and rightfully so. Like there comes a point where you're like, okay, now you need to start kind of, getting higher than the bottom three of your own conference. But we'll see if it's this year. If not, hopefully Chet gives us some good highlights and some good clipping moments. Him and SGA, I think, are rumored to be potentially rivaling in terms of who has the most style on the team. So
that's true. I definitely agree with that. So just kind of going a little bit lower in the draft. Yeah. I'm kind of glad and I'm disappointed. And the reason why I'm disappointed is because Sacramento just keeps on missing.
Kings gonna Kings.
Yeah, they can't king themselves. Is one thing for sure.
I want to ask your opinion on this. I was having this conversation because I was watching the draft with my brother last night.
Yeah,
and I turned to him and I was like, I don't think there's a worse run organization in sports than the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, I agree. Because like every draft pick that they pick.
They either luck back into like that's the only option for them to pick, or they somehow are the one team that sits there and screws it up.
Yeah, they're always capable of doing one thing right, and that's missing a pick. Right. They're either one ahead or they're one below. And I mean, if you look back at the 2019 draft with Luka Doncic being the best player in that draft, basically.
Yeah.
They drafted Marvin Bagley, and now he's with Detroit.
Yep.
And it's like you guys just keep missing over and over and over again. And I mean, I hope and I pray that, I'm not praying for Jaden Ivey's disappointment, but Jaden Ivey's a bucket, man. And I mean, the Kings just missed out. Now, I mean, look, nothing wrong with their pick. I forgot who they picked. I know they picked
So it was Keegan Murray out of Iowa.
Yeah, I love Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray is a great player, great forward player. I think he's going to do phenomenal. He's able to shoot the three. He's able to defend. I think they're going to be fine. You do have Sabonis there. You do have De'Aaron Fox there. I think.
Well, Sabonis is. Oh yeah, Sabonis did get traded. You're right.
Yeah, Sabonis is there. I think Keegan Murray is going to be fine. It's just. We know what Jaden Ivey said, in the interview with not wanting to go to Sacramento, but kind of moving to the Pistons pick. Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham, that backcourt is going to be very nice, as well as getting I think Jalen Duren.
Yes, so because they acquired him in a 3-team deal that sent the Memphis big man to Detroit. So they've got a young kind of nucleus backcourt and a big man to build around. One thing I'll add on to the Kings, just because we gotta point out mediocrity when we see it. They were a pick away not only on Luka Doncic, they were a pick away on Damian Lillard and on Klay Thompson.
Come on, man.
Basically, someone tweeted out last night. It was like Jaden Ivey confirmed future All-Star because of just the Kings' luck and the Kings' just lack of awareness on it. It seemed to be the simple, easy pick. They just traded away Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox. Buddy Hield and everything. That could have been a potentially game-changing guard in that Kings rotation that could have really propelled them down the future. But they went with Keegan Murray, like you said, a really solid player. I don't know if I personally would have picked him at 4, but the Kings felt like that he was their guy, and we'll see how it works out. Maybe this will be the time they get it right. But
I mean, look, man. I mean, if I were them, I mean, I know I probably wouldn't have picked him this high, but. Even if the Kings drafted Patrick Baldwin from the forward that Golden State picked, I mean, he's a solid player. I know that he probably wouldn't go that high, but I mean, Patrick Baldwin is a solid player, and he's going to be great for Golden State. And all Golden State's doing is just stacking up draft picks. I mean, that's all they're doing is just getting even more talent, and just more elite over and over. I think that their ceiling after Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond retire. Their ceiling is going to be through the roof. But I have a question for you, C-Money. Who was the winner of this draft? Who was the winner of the draft?
The biggest winner? I'm not going to lie. Detroit really, to me, smacked it out of the park because we knew the top three were going to get the top three. Like, those three guys, no matter what the order, we knew that Chet, Paolo, and Jabari were all going to go top three. To me, the Pistons getting Jaden Ivey, who some thought he was top three. Now, I personally didn't have him that high. But not only to pair him with Cade Cunningham to give him another scoring option and another guy to handle the ball in case Cade, wants to play off ball a little bit. Not only that, but also securing Jalen Duren in that 3-team trade, as we mentioned earlier. Detroit basketball.
Hey, man.
Listen, it's really good to see Detroit potentially having a young nucleus that they can build around. And I think they got a lot of talent down in Detroit that they just need to take some time, really try to build the chemistry and everything. I think the future is really bright in Detroit, and I think they're my biggest winner of draft night.
Look, they're looking like a new Bad Boys. I'm just saying. Because what happened in the early 2000s with, Ben Wallace and,
Rasheed, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton,
yeah,
Chauncey
man.
Billups.
That team was scary. And, the early days of the Bad Boys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just different eras. And I think with Cade Cunningham at the helm, at the point, I think that Ivy should be the 2. I could see him at the 2. And then, if you haven't seen Jalen Duren at Memphis, if you haven't watched any tape, that's a bad man. Yeah. That's a bad man, especially on the defensive end. He can block anything out there if he wanted to. So since we said the winner, who was your biggest loser?
Come on, man.
I think I know this.
Come on, man.
It's on the East Coast.
Yeah. Yes.
It is kind of like it's.
I think they actually hosted the draft last night, if I'm not mistaken.
They did.
Yeah.
I think they did. No. The other team across the way. They. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not them. Not the Brooklyn Nets where they have that kind of shamble of Kyrie and KD.
We'll be talking about that here in a second.
Yeah.
To me, the biggest loser. Come on, Knicks.
Yeah.
What are you doing, man? What are y'all doing, man? Like, y'all, here's the thing. The Knicks obviously were not a great team last year. Julius Randle, Tom Thibodeau. Wow, that's a
tongue twister.
That is a tongue twister. Tom Thibodeau, Julius Randle, the whole crew, they took a step back. They were no longer a playoff contending team like they were the year previous, and they were one of the worst teams in the NBA. They only got the 11th overall pick, which was, a bit of a shame, but they instead traded to OKC, and then later in the night traded Kemba Walker and to get off their books along with some other people and to get 3 future first-round picks. The Knicks, man, I just New York. It's one of those things where I have a love-hate relationship with Knicks fans because on one hand, whenever they're so loud and everything, it seems totally unjustified for me. But whenever they go through stuff like this, I can understand why they act out the way that they do. Knicks have gone through a lot and a lot of crap over the last 20 some odd years, I think.
Yeah.
Safe to say. And it just doesn't seem like it's going to get any better for them. I don't really see what the future is on this team. Like RJ Barrett and, Julius Randle and a bunch of guys, maybe that they're potentially going after somebody, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But to me, man, the Knicks just seem like a team that doesn't really have any sense of direction, any sense of team culture, team identity, any of that stuff. And they didn't improve it on draft night. And I thought they had a really good chance to get a really solid player, and they chose not to. So,
look, man, when you have a team like the New York Knicks, who have Worldwide West and, that whole entire team back there, at the staff, the only problem is James Dolan. James Dolan's just got to go, man. I mean, he's not doing his job. I mean, you're the owner of the New York Knicks, in Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure Spike Lee and Stephen A. and even Max Kellerman are tired of watching the Knicks not make it past the first round of the playoffs.
Oh, Kellerman's switched to a Lakers fan. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you're right. He did switch to the Lakers fan. But I mean,
right.
the Knicks have been a catastrophe for the past seasons. I mean, the last time they won a championship was in the 70s, and I mean, now it's 2022, and you guys still haven't been able to make a team that has been good. I mean, come on now,
right.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and it's just for the so-called mecca of basketball, the fact that they're not willing to attract anybody based off their sheer name alone just kind of lets you know, hey, New York, you need to kind of change your strategy up a little bit in trying to recruit some of these guys. If you're playing the free agency game, which it seems like they are with the Kemba Walker trade,
apparently, because they traded all their whole future in this draft, and there's a lot of talent in this draft.
They are.
I mean, I'm not saying, in my mind, there was no one that was a real bust in this draft class. I mean, there's a lot of players who I think can ball. Some will be better than others, but I just think in this draft class, like, you could have had one piece of talent on your team. Something. Instead of trade your 11th pick to Oklahoma City, who already has the 12th pick as well.
Yeah.
So it's like you're giving them back-to-back picks. All they're doing is stacking up. Yeah. And, I mean, next year, Oklahoma City still has a whole bunch of picks again. So it's like y'all are just moving past the clock. Yeah. I mean, all you guys have is R.J. Barrett.
And the picks that they traded for were a lot of protected picks, so that if they even get to the point where they are worth something, they're not going to have them. And to me, like, Ochai Agbaji,
oh my gosh, man,
from Kansas, he was one of my favorite players in the draft. He goes at the end of the lottery. That's somebody I feel
that was surprising.
That he could have easily be an NBA contributor here within the next couple of years. It's a shocker for sure. I don't want to bang on the Knicks too much because they're already hating themselves and probably hating James Dolan way more than me and you do. But we've got some other stuff that we are going to talk about, and I'm going to transition a little bit to a semi-New York Knicks topic, I think it's safe to say. Kyrie Irving gave out a wish list of 6 teams that he would be willing to go to. This list included, I'm going to pull it up right here, the New York Knicks, as aforementioned, the Miami Heat, the Los Angeles Lakers, Los Angeles Clippers, Dallas Mavericks, and the Philadelphia, on this website it weirdly says the Eagles, but it's 76ers. And Kyrie, now Adrian Wojnarowski has come out and reported that a lot of these teams do not even have any to little interest in Kyrie Irving. So that makes it all the more great for Kyrie. But quickly, Anthony, I wanted to get your thoughts because we had talked about the Lakers and Kyrie, how much of a chance we thought we'd give. Kyrie came out with this list. Do you see any team that could have leapfrogged the Lakers? Is there any team that jumped out in your mind, or is this just Kyrie being Kyrie?
Man, for one, working with the Mavs, do not come to Dallas. Please do not come.
You don't want him?
No, man. I'm sorry. Look.
You don't want a guy that shows up to work half the time that he's supposed to? Really?
Yeah. And he's getting paid? Yeah, absolutely not. Like, no way. I'm sorry. The Knicks sound interesting. I think that the Knicks would like him just because, he's a showstopper. But I think the biggest opportunity for him is to go to the Lakers. I mean, team back up with LeBron. They got a good pick in the late round, in the second round for the Lakers, as well as they got Scottie Pippen Jr. now. A lot of young talent. I know Sharif O'Neal is going to be for the Summer League as well for the Lakers. And I just think that teaming up back with LeBron, I think that's your best bet. Now, the sad part is, the con of this is that you're leaving KD on the island by himself. And we've already heard speculation that he may try to leave Brooklyn if Kyrie leaves, because that's literally the straw that breaks the camel's back. If Kyrie leaves, you're leaving KD by himself. And I mean, sure, you have Cam Thomas, who was a phenomenon last year as a rookie, but I mean, come on now. You're just going to leave KD like that? I mean, it's the greatest team that never was in Brooklyn with James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant.
Yep.
And I mean, if you leave KD, I mean, hey, you're I'm not going to call you a traitor, but it's like, come on, man. You can't just leave him like that. I mean, I don't think that's right, but
I mean, Kevin Durant, the main reason he went to Brooklyn was to follow Kyrie.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. But I think the best bet for him and his career is to go to L.A., go play with LeBron, and that may mean that Russell Westbrook may have to go to Brooklyn. I've seen a lot of different types of trades that people have been speculating. I know Lakers fans are like, oh my gosh, this is going to be great if Kyrie comes. It's fantastic. My question is okay, how much are you going to pay him? And for how long? Because I'm not giving him a long-term deal. Mm-hmm. There's no way I'm giving him a long-term deal because you don't know what you're going to get with Kyrie Irving. And yes, it's great to have David Ham at the helm for their coaching staff, but and I believe that he's going to hold Kyrie accountable for all his stuff that he may try to do. It's just, you just don't know what you're going to get with Kyrie Irving.
Right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through each of the 6 teams, or everyone except the Lakers. So I'll save the Lakers for last.
Okay.
I'll do my breakdown of that, but I'm gonna break down why I don't believe that any of these 5 teams should want Kyrie.
Okay.
So first, I'll say the Mavericks. The Mavericks Luka Doncic is by far the number one star. By far. Like, he's the guy who's going to bring the ball up the court, make the decisions, and as he should be. And it's a young team that's growing and it's building, and they do want to win right now, but Kyrie isn't the player that necessarily would be their ideal fit. And also, Luka, while he's working on his defense and he's working on his shuffling, working on putting in the weight room, you don't want a backcourt of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic being your defensive duo that you go into the future and try to win a championship with. That just doesn't seem like it would be plausible to me. Not that the Mavericks would really pursue Kyrie Irving, but I just don't think it would be a smart idea. The 76ers, the Tyrese Maxey has been ruled untouchable by Philadelphia. It's been a confirmed report. And James Harden literally just forced his way to there. So you're not going to trade for him.
Right.
The Sixers are not trading Joel Embiid unless he requests a trade. And all this, and again, I don't know what other salary you could come up with. Not to mention, just it doesn't make sense that Harden, are you really going to want to play with Kyrie again?
Yeah,
You just did that, right? It just doesn't make any sense. Miami, Heat culture. You would think Kyrie's going to buy into Heat culture?
No way. Not a chance.
The only question I would have is who would get to him first, Udonis Haslem or Pat Riley? Like, in which temper
or Jimmy Butler.
Oh, gosh, probably, right? If he goes into a practice or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
And then we go to the Knicks and the Clippers. The Knicks, I understand it somewhat makes sense because they have the cap space and Kyrie can make a move and they're just trying to win. They're just trying to get somebody. But even the Knicks, I don't think are that desperate to pay a guy potentially however much money. And I mean, again, I'm just saying. I know.
Come on. They're the Knicks.
They are the Knicks.
It's James Dolan. Come on now.
Listen, this is not what you want to do to RJ Barrett. This is not what you want to do, set the example for Knicks culture. I think Stephen A would have a conniption if that were to happen, along with Spike Lee.
I think Stephen A would be fine.
No,
I just think
he does not want Kyrie Irving.
I just
promise you.
I mean, okay, look, he's a showstopper, man.
Right.
It's Kyrie, man.
I don't care. You playing 37 games out of 82. You think he's happy with that?
Would you
paying the money that he's getting paid?
Would you rather have 42 games of Kyrie Irving or 79 games of Russell Westbrook?
I mean, either way, it equates to about the same.
Oh, geez. Goodness.
That's what I'm saying. Kyrie may play less. You never know. He may retire tomorrow. We don't know.
That's true.
And then the Clippers, again, they've got a really great core with all those wings, and they could use them. I just don't see how the financials would work with that. So that brings me to the Lakers. The Lakers, okay, this is kind of where I'm feeling with Kyrie. So Kyrie has an option to either opt in to his player option. I think it's by June 29th, so sometime next week.
Yeah.
That he has the option to opt in if he wants to. I think personally that would be the smartest move that he could do, because that way the free agency class, not this season, but next season's more open. He can do whatever he wants. He gets that guaranteed money, and he gets to prove, like, hey, I'm still committed to basketball. Look at all these games I'm playing, all this other stuff, yada, yada, yada. If I would do that, honestly, if Brooklyn does not offer at least 3 years max fully guaranteed, because I don't think they're going to get to 5 years fully max. I just don't believe that the Nets are that desperate a position. Like, they would rather have him potentially walk than sign him to a contract that he may only play 1 year of, potentially. Yeah. And that leads me to the question, because Kyrie already left $17 million roughly on the table last year with missing all those games due to not getting the vaccine and everything. So, and he's already talked about, like, not wanting to play long. Like, he doesn't want to play until he's 40. He wants to retire into his mid to early 30s. Kyrie, again, a little bit of philanthropist, loves giving back to the community. He's a man that stands for something, and if you at least stand for something, or if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything, is the old expression. And while Kyrie's what he stands for might not be a lot of agreeable, at least he does stand for something.
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie, I told you that the chances of Kyrie potentially going to the Lakers was the chances of somebody dropping $1 million off my front door.
Okay.
The last time we did this podcast. I'm willing to upgrade that to a man coming up to my front door and leaving $1 on my front door. Very possible. It could even happen if they're listening to this podcast. But I still don't see it likely that he's willing to give up an additional $30 million to sign that $6 million mid-level exception to sign with the Lakers, because that's all the Lakers could offer him, unless barring, they somehow figure out how to get rid of Russell Westbrook for essentially nothing.
A $30 million pay cut. That's a lot, man.
$30 million. So I think
his best bet is to stay with KD.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean,
opt in.
Yeah, just opt in. You play with KD one more year. See how it goes. Be at the games, please. You don't got to play at every game.
Yep.
At least be at half. I mean, Adam Silver's already thinking about cutting the season short. So, and I think cutting the season short, hey, when we talked about this on the podcast, cutting the season short, that may make it even healthier for some players,
Right.
But, I mean, I would just opt in, play with KD for one more year, see if you can get past the first round,
Right.
With him and Ben Simmons as well.
I'll ask you before we switch topics. How many games do you think Kyrie needs to play in order to prove he can be relied upon? Is it the full 82? Or is it like 70, 75, 65? Even 65, I feel like he'd be like...
I would say 70. 70, 75 at least.
I feel like that too.
Because, at least you're playing half. You're playing a majority of the season.
Yeah, more than half, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also you solidify your team in possibly top, and we're talking about the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Top 5, I would say, with that team.
Mm-hmm.
Just with KD, Ben Simmons.
And Kyrie.
We got to see what Ben Simmons is because, he hasn't played.
Well, that's a whole other discussion for another day, brother.
I know. But I think that at least moves you up in the top 5, top 4, just with talent alone. And they can make some noise. If Kyrie decides to opt in. If he opts out, it's going to be a whole shenanigan just in free agency.
Yeah. Listen, it will be very interesting. We will definitely be following it. And whenever news does break of whatever Kyrie Irving decides to do, you'll hear some more insight here on the Fools on Stools podcast. But speaking of the aforementioned Kyrie Irving, he might be plan C for this team, but plan B is what we're going to be talking about for our next topic for the New York Knicks. Plan A, I believe, was trying to get Jaden Ivey in the trade.
It was definitely plan A.
Yeah.
All the Knicks fans were sad.
They were.
Just disappointed.
And, well, now they're turning their attention to plan B, which is Mavericks point guard Jalen Brunson. Apparently, according to a report by Mavericks insider Mark Stein, Mavs guard Jalen Brunson is reported leaning towards making a move to the New York Knicks. He has history with New York. Obviously, his dad, Rick Brunson, is now an assistant coach for the New York Knicks. And again, does he maybe want a bigger role? I understand that with Luka, he'll never be the main guy, and maybe Jalen wants to sit there and kind of have his quote-unquote own team. And New York would obviously be willing to pay him a boatload of money. So, Anthony, being the Mavericks, I guess we'll call you Mavericks expert on the podcast, why don't you give me your thoughts on this potential Jalen Brunson move?
I don't want him to leave, man. I want him to stay. He averaged at least 21 points in each game in the playoffs. He was a showstopper. No one really saw it coming. Now, I understand. Sometimes you got to bet on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided not to extend him 4 years, before the season started.
It was like 4 years, $55 million or something, like 57 or whatever it was.
Yeah, they decided not to give him the contract. He bet on himself. Great job. Like, literally, greatest idea ever for Jalen Brunson. I mean, family's up there, man. Family's up there in New York, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough. Look, I've heard that not James Dolan, Nico Harrison. He already said that their main goal is to focus on Jalen Brunson, to get him to stay. But I think ever since what they did in the draft, what the Knicks did, their eyes are solely on Jalen Brunson, man. And I mean, I get it. He may not be the star for the Mavericks. That's all Luka, and who knows, it may be just Luka and Christian Wood. But I think keeping Jalen Brunson with Luka, Jalen Brunson, and Christian Wood, and you got Spencer Dinwiddie too. Oh my gosh! In my mind, that's a big three. Like literally of just a backcourt and Christian Wood there. It's tough, man. I don't want him to leave because I mean, you made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, and I think if you keep JB, they could make it to the finals next year possibly.
I mean, they did make it to the Western Conference Finals, as we know, this past season. Just for clarification, Brunson is eligible to receive a 5-year, $175.450 million contract from the Dallas Mavericks this offseason.
Look, they better pay that man. They have to. Because if they lose JB, it's gonna be tough, I think.
Can I play devil's advocate here for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say...
Don't be too harsh on me, though. Okay, brother? No, I'm kidding.
Devil's advocate. I'm just proposing a different idea, okay? So, Jalen Brunson, right? He's a point guard. He's kind of on the smaller side. Not the greatest defensively, although he does try, but at 6 foot, I think, 6'2" is what we give him.
Yeah.
Not the greatest, especially in a league that's all about switching and, positionless basketball and everything. Jalen Brunson, it took a step forward this year, especially in the playoffs. Those first couple rounds, especially Golden State, yes and no, had some games, but regardless. Jalen Brunson is, again, asking for a lot of money, as he should, based on that season. He should get paid. It should have paid him the 4 years, $55 million, but that regardless, we are where we are. Do you believe Jalen Brunson can be the second best player on a championship team?
Oh, absolutely.
You think so?
I think he is right now. I mean,
Well,
I think
he's not on a championship team.
I mean, obviously not. He's on a close to Western Conference championship team.
Final Four team, so I'll give you that.
Yeah. I think he was the second best player on the Mavericks. But you can kind of argue that with either Spencer Dinwiddie or Jalen Brunson. I think Jalen Brunson was just phenomenal. I mean, he was able to get past defenders easily. That mid-range area near the charity stripe, that was his bread and butter the entire time. Obviously, we know he can shoot the three very well. And I think just giving Luka a chance to breathe a little bit was just
being a secondary ball handler.
Yeah, it was
Right.
It was literally just what they needed. And I mean, props to Nico Harrison and as well as Jason Kidd of just implementing a system for them to flourish. But to answer your question, I do think that he can be the second best player. Now, my thing, if he goes to the Knicks and he's your point guard, you still have Julius Randle.
You still have RJ Barrett.
Where is your and props to Mitchell Robinson, great defender,
Right.
great centerpiece, right? As your center, it's just where is your structure? Like, where are you going if you're going to the Knicks? I get it. Go get your money. Like, get your paper, get your bread. But if the Mavericks are giving you money and it's in a better system for you to win, and also you kind of automatically get into the playoffs. I don't know if the Knicks are going to get in the playoffs next season.
Right.
Highly doubtful.
Right.
But if I'm looking at the Mavericks, knowing that I have an opportunity to get in the playoffs probably for the next decade with Luka Doncic, and you're paying me, like, come on now. It doesn't get better than that.
Right.
That's my decision if I'm Jalen Brunson. It's like, I can go to the Knicks. Yes, I know my dad is a coach and my family's in New York City and stuff like that. But, and I mean, look, go where family is, go where your bread is. That's great. But at the end of the day, you built you built something here, like with the Mavericks.
Right.
So it's like, why leave something that's good? And the biggest thing is, the Mavericks better pay him. They better pay him, because if they don't, he's gone.
I mean, well, listen, he has the option of choosing either New York or Dallas or whomever he wants to go to based on what they offer him. I do believe Dallas will offer him the most that they can, or, what he wants to be paid. It's just going to come down to what he wants to do. Does he want to play with family? Does he want to go where comfort? He is from the Northeast. Or does he want to see, like, hey, listen, as you mentioned, I build something down here. I like playing with Luka. I like playing with these guys. The fan bases embrace me, this, that, or the other. We'll wait and see if he's the second best option. Real quickly, though, before we switch topics, I'm going to just throw some names out there, and all I want you to do is just answer, would you rather have Jalen Brunson or this player?
Okay.
So I'm going to and these are guys potentially on the move, right?
Cool.
And some of them are going to be ridiculous. Some of them you might have to think about. Okay? I'm going to start you off with an easy one.
I'm ready.
Rudy Gobert.
Oh, Brunson.
Donovan Mitchell.
This is for the Mavs, right?
This is for the Mavs. So you would be swapping them.
Brunson.
You'd go Brunson over Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Okay. Jalen Brunson or Bradley Beal.
Oh, Beal.
So you would take Beal.
Yeah.
Okay. Jalen Brunson or, not that this would happen because I'm pretty sure he's confirmed signed back to the Bulls, but Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So Zach LaVine over Don. That's interesting.
Yeah, and the only reason why Zach LaVine, just real quick, is just he's a dynamic player. I'm not saying Jalen Brunson isn't, but he's a bigger guard.
He is.
So it's like, and he's I believe he's more efficient from 3 too. So I think that matching him with Luka. Not saying Jalen Brunson can't play off the ball, but Zach LaVine can play off the ball as well. And I mean, we saw what he's able to do in Chicago, which is phenomenal. And I just think with that, I go with Levine.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, that's going to be some interesting topic for those who are going to be listening. Who would you take Jalen Brunson over these other potential options?
Now, I'll
for the
take
Dallas
Jalen
Mavericks?
Brunson over Kyrie Irving any day.
I knew I knew you were going to say that. Didn't even want to go there, but I appreciate you at least giving us your honest answer, and I do appreciate that. Okay,
Hey, man.
listen, we've talked about NBA for a good minute. Let's switch it over to the Diamond. Let's switch it over to some Major League Baseball. We've got a couple of big stars performing well and are about to get paid. First one that we're going to be talking about is Mr. Shohei Ohtani.
First of all, they better be getting paid, especially Ohtani.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, Shohei Ohtani had a historic little back-to-back, had an 8 RBI night followed by a 13 strikeout night as a pitcher. Shohei Ohtani, the most dynamic player in all of baseball, did this earlier this week against the Kansas City Royals. Shohei Ohtani is looking to really hit his stride after starting off the season a little slow. Not that it was, terribly crazy, but he wasn't quite what Shohei was last year, at least starting off. MLB Fans Cited suggests that Ohtani could receive a multi-year deal upwards of $50 million per season, which would be the largest annual average salary in the history of the sport. This confirms some suspicion around baseball, particularly from the Athletics' Ken Rosenthal, that the Ohtani chase will be unlike anything we've ever seen in this free agent age. Now, the Angels obviously are already tied up in Mike Trout, as they should be. Mike Trout's one of the best players in baseball, if not the best. And then they're also tied into third baseman Anthony Rendon, who unfortunately I believe is out for the season with his injury. I don't know if that's quite right, but I know he's going to be out for a large portion, if not the whole season.
Yeah, a good majority.
Right. So, and I was talking to one of our baseball insiders, Brendan Carson, about this potential Shohei Ohtani decision that the Angels have, let's say. Now, if you shine Ohtani, you're up against the whatever spending you've got, and you better hope that you draft and hit the fine margins perfectly. However, if you choose to get rid of Ohtani, you're getting rid of a generational talent that I don't think, at least in our lifetime, I haven't seen somebody like Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, me neither.
So here's the question I'm going to propose to you, Anthony. Do you believe the Angels should keep Shohei Ohtani?
I mean, look, man, you have to. I mean, if you let him walk, that's going to be one of the biggest regrets you guys ever had. I mean, right now, the Angels, they're 6-4. Right now, most of their kills it's at 90, tied for 10th. You can thank that to Ohtani, honestly. He's one of the best hitters, one of the best pitchers ever. I mean,
ever. Wow, you're already going there.
I am. I mean, we saw the season he had last year.
Right.
Winning MVP. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a reason why he was on the show for the video game. I mean, he is going to be one of the best, I believe. He's going to be elite. He already is elite. And obviously, yes, the slow start he had at the beginning of the season. I think, I'm not sure how he did last year. I kind of saw it throughout the middle of the season. I think that the slow start in the beginning of the season is kind of what he does sometimes, not by a large margin, but, he's one of the best to ever pick up a bat, I mean, just the way he's able to swing and throw, getting 13 strikeouts yesterday, which is phenomenal. Look, man, I pay him. I love Mike Trout. Great player. He deserves his money. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the money for Ohtani and you let him walk, that may be one of the biggest regrets the Angels ever do. Because if he goes to a rival, that's going to be a big regret that they have.
Yeah, Shohei Ohtani with 15 home runs, 45 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, and 298 plate appearances, while holding a 2.9 ERA and 90 strikeouts in just over 68 innings pitched. Very solid numbers from Shohei Ohtani. I've thought about this a lot, and again, I've talked about this with our baseball insider Brendan Carson here on the show. I'm starting to side a little bit with potentially seeing what else is out there, because if you're the Angels, right, you're basically saying, okay, yes, I have this guy on Ohtani. Ohtani's not a guarantee that the Angels are going to win. I mean, heck, they were on this crazy losing streak earlier in the season. What was it, like 14 or 15 games?
Mm-hmm.
So just because you have Ohtani and Trout, two of the biggest in the sport, that doesn't necessarily always equate to like you're going to be dominant, you're going to win the division. this, that, or the other. Now, again, Ohtani's younger. Him and Trout and the Angels are maybe catching their stride again, and hopefully for their sake, maybe building on something. To me, the Anthony Rendon is going to be the contract that I would potentially look to try to get rid of. I don't know who would take that contract, if anybody.
Yeah, right. Hello.
And again, it's something that I don't know how flexible they can be with him. To me, you're asking the Angels, an organization who I think the last time they were in the World Series was the early 2000s against San Francisco.
It was a long time ago,
I believe. So again, and it's something that if you're confident in your ability, and the Angels got to ask themselves, are we confident in our ability to nail the free agents, bargain and get the guys that, some other people may not value as high, but we see something in them, hit on those guys, hit on your draft picks, this, that, or the other, and really thread the needle, you might have something. But you give yourself such a larger room for error larger room for error, if you do trade Ohtani for some guys that are, maybe proven already in the major leagues, maybe some high-level minor league prospects, and you may not have the ceiling that you do with Shohei Ohtani, obviously, but you do give yourself a larger window to potentially compete. Now, selling that to a fan base that you're
going to be kind of hard.
Yeah, that you're trading Ohtani, it's not going to be the easiest thing to do. And I'm not saying that I would rule for trading Ohtani, but I'm not as dismissive of it as I once was. And again, Shohei Ohtani, we're not questioning how great he is or how great he can be. I think we're all in agreement that he's one of the biggest stars, as Anthony said, maybe ever in the history of baseball. So I want to see how well he can do. He obviously did choose the Angels, obviously, as well, way back when he, came over to the major leagues. And I think he likes playing there, and I think he likes the guys. He likes the organization. I haven't heard a negative thing about him. So
because he's an Angel, at bat, man.
Right.
Exactly.
I like what you did there.
He lets it fly high.
Oh yeah. All the great references here on the Fools on Stools podcast. Anthony Council and Cullen Brown holding it down in the studio. Listen, Shohei Ohtani, the Angels, I think they can come to an agreement. I think it will be expensive, ultimately, if that's what we're projecting. It's going to put a lot of stress on the Angels, their manager, their GM, everybody in their front office. So,
okay, let me ask you this.
Okay.
What do you need to win a baseball game? Like give me your key players that you need to win a baseball game.
I mean, so look, you obviously need pitching. You need multiple starters that can sit there and really give you high quality 6, 7, 8 innings of, really high quality stuff, right? Three runs or less in those innings most of the time that they're on the mound. I would say at least 2. It's greater if you have 3, but whatever, right?
Okay.
You need a go-to reliever, at least one, probably more than one, but you need at least one, because relief pitching, especially in those high key leverage moments when it's the bottom of the 7th, you're up 1 and you got runners in scoring position, you need a guy to come in and get you those 3 outs. Absolutely, you need a top-notch reliever. And then overall with hitting, you want guys that put it over the fence, and I guess Shohei is pretty good at that. Mike Trout's pretty good at that. But you want guys that can sit there, and obviously baseball's really moved away from the traditional contact, getting on base and everything, and they're really after the guys that swing for the fences, and we don't care if you strike out. As long as you put the ball in seats, we're willing to give you a contract. So
right.
I think ultimately pitching is the big key, and you want guys that can hit home runs, and I see where you're kind of going with this question because Shohei does both. But
so if the Angels decide to trade him,
right,
then you're losing pitching,
right?
You're losing one of the best hitters in the game right now,
right?
And I'm not saying Mike Trout's a bum because he's not. He's a ball player, but when you lose those 2 and you already have someone who can do that, and you probably need 2 or 3 of them, like you said, then you're in a hole at that point. Right. So it's like if you lose Ohtani and you only have one person, let's say you bring in someone from another ball club there,
right?
Then okay, you're back to square one, and all you have is Mike Trout.
I mean, and listen, I'm not for it. I'm just saying that if you're in the business of trading Ohtani, you better make sure that you do everything that you possibly can to replace him and make sure that they're a contender, because they didn't have Ohtani for the longest time, and they did have Trout, and they couldn't surround Trout with a guy or a team that can really compete, at least as far as I could see. And now we'll see. Now that they got Ohtani, they got Rendon. Yeah, how well they can really perform. But let's go. Let's switch over because we've got another big baseball potential MVP candidate that we need to talk about, Mr. Aaron Judge. Recently, Aaron Judge declined a $19 million settlement offer from the New York Yankees. Seeks arbitration victory. Buster Only reporting, saying that that he doesn't believe Aaron Judge will be in a New York Yankee uniform this upcoming season. This is the last year of his deal with the New York Yankees. Judge currently leads the majors in home runs and is one of the huge, bright stars for this New York Yankees roster who has the best record in baseball. My question to you, Anthony, if Aaron Judge continues this pace and he goes, let's say, carries the New York Yankees on a deep playoff run, has a lot of success, maybe even gets a ring out of it. I'm going to knock on wood for his sake because I'm not trying to jinx him. Is Aaron Judge potentially going to be the richest man in baseball, barring the Ohtani deal? Or do you see him potentially being like, you know what? I think the Yankees and I have a great future together. Let's see if we can rework on a deal. Or do you see him moving somewhere else?
I don't see him leaving.
Okay.
But if you're going against the Boston Red Sox, you better slap the you-know-what out of them on the field because the Red Sox have owned the Yankees for the past couple of seasons in the playoffs, and everybody has seen it. Everybody knows it. You got to get to the World Series. It's now. Like your time is now, especially the way Aaron Judge is playing. Like now at this moment, yeah. You know, after the All-Star break, you still have to be playing at a high caliber level. I understand you guys beat the Astros yesterday. You guys lost today. Down by 1 point, 2-1 against the Houston Astros. I don't know how many games is that for their series. Is it just a 2-game series for the Astros?
I believe it's 3.
It's 3. Okay.
I believe it's 3. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, of course. Because you beat the Astros yesterday, lost today. You have a chance tomorrow. One of the best teams in the game right now with the Houston Astros. They've always been good. But it's time for you to go to a World Series. I mean, that's the biggest thing to show put your money where your mouth is. Get to a World Series because you guys have the team, you guys have the squad. There, Aaron Judge is at the helm of it, in my opinion. With all those superstars on the Yankees, I won't say you have to win the World Series. You have to at least get to it in order to get his money. I don't think if they get to the World Series that he leaves, because I feel like every time I look at the Yankees, they're always in this area of they have high momentum in the middle of the season, and then towards the end it just goes down. It just fades away. It just slowly goes down. In the playoffs, I think they're decent. It's just whenever they get to the edge of the World Series, it's just something happens. Something breaks down. The train just comes apart, breaks down, the engine dies. It's like, okay, what happened? You guys are at the edge of the World Series. Why are you guys letting it slip through your hands? Like, you guys, if you made the World Series, you guys probably could have beaten one of these teams easily because you're the Yankees and you guys have such a phenomenal team. But I think for Aaron Judge, I love this era of betting on yourself. I think that he's doing a great job of betting on himself. I think, because you said he declined the contract.
Yeah, well, he declined. It was a 7-year contract for, I think, $213 million that he declined at the beginning of the year. Now he's looking to potentially make over $300 million.
Oh, so change the 2 and put a 3 there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I definitely agree.
Yes.
I think that's a great idea for him. I just get to a World Series, man. That's the biggest thing. Then I believe that he'll get that. He'll definitely get that 300 if he takes him to a World Series. Right now, you're doing great. I think he's a potential MVP candidate right now. Let's just see how the rest of the season goes through the latter half of the season after the All-Star break and the Home Run Derby, all that jazz and a bag of chips. And then we'll see if he actually deserves the big 3, because the only way you deserve that is if you show up in the postseason.
Okay. That's a very strong take by Anthony Council. I do believe he's the front runner, I'll say, in the AL MVP race. He did finish fourth in the race last year after kind of having some turbulence there for a couple of years.
Yeah, not surprising.
He's 30 years old. And again, he's looking for his payday. He wants to cash in, as he obviously should. He's one of the biggest stars in all of baseball. And I do believe the Yankees have a really good shot at the World Series this year. To me, though, I think he's already secured it. Like, whether he gets the money for the Yankees, well, the Yankees should pay him. But I think no matter what, Aaron Judge is going to get paid no matter what by a different ball club if it's not the Yankees. Not that the Yankees wouldn't pay him, but I believe that based on what he's played like this year, saying, you know what, bump you guys, I'm not taking that contract. I believe I should be making more. I think he secured himself with this money, barring a, knocking on wood for him again, barring a disaster second half of the season for him. I believe he's secured himself a really large payday. And again, bet on yourself seems to work out. Seems to be the theme of the show today. But I believe in Aaron Judge, and I believe that he will get paid. And I think the Yankees are due for a deep playoff run. So we'll only have to wait and see. We'll obviously be paying attention to everything Major League Baseball related.
Do you see him in another uniform?
I could.
Where?
I out of spite. Whoever pays him. Honestly, like whoever is willing to be like, you know what, we'll give you everything, Aaron. I don't have the salary caps in front of the teams and everything. That might be something we'll look at future episodes, but I could 100% see him leaving. I really could.
Where do you think, and this is the last thing before we go into the next topic, where do you think his best fit would be? Let's just say free agencies tomorrow for the MLB. Obviously, it's not. But where do you see his best fit would be if it's not with the Yankees?
I mean, honestly, it's just whatever team's willing to pay him. Honestly, it's very hard to say because again, we're so like in the middle of the season. We're not sure how teams feel about the prospects yet.
Right.
We don't know if like who's committed to what, who's re-signing who. It's very early to tell. My bet would be is that he would re-sign with the Yankees, but I don't want to dismiss the possibility that he could very well walk from New York. So like if you're asking me today in 2023, I see Aaron Judge in a New York Yankees uniform. That could easily very well change. But, yeah, we're going to move on here quickly. Just wanted to announce that Freddie Freeman did make his return to Atlanta tonight. Freddie Freeman, the longtime Atlanta Brave, did help them secure the World Series championship this past season. He makes his return, gets his championship ring. It's a really wholesome moment. If you haven't seen the video, make sure you check it out. Freddie Freeman and Atlanta, little Atlanta sports icon. Still loves the city. Still has connections there, I'm sure, throughout his time there. And just wanted to give a quick shout out to Mr. Freddie Freeman.
Man, why'd you leave, man? No, I'm kidding. Go get your money, man.
Yeah.
Go get your money in L.A.
Hey, listen, playing the sport you love in Los Angeles, it's a tough thing for a lot of guys to turn down. And
hey, man, sunshine, the beautiful beaches, and just
everything.
It's everything, man.
Everything.
It's L.A., baby. It's
Absolutely.
L.A. But big ups to Freddie Freeman just coming back playing against the Atlanta Braves and getting his ring. That was beautiful. Just watching him get his ring and his family being there and showing out for the fans that love him to death. I mean, it's phenomenal, man. It's wonderful.
Really great. Really great. Class act by the Atlanta Braves organization. And yeah, awesome for Freddie Freeman. Okay, Anthony. So I mentioned last episode that sometimes we just need to tweak some things. We need to, change it up sometimes, just keep us on our toes, keep the brain flowing, all the other stuff. This episode 31 of the Fools on Stools podcast, I want to throw something quickly to you that to end hour one that we have yet to do on an episode of the Fools on Stools podcast. We are going to be sitting here, and we'll come up with the name of this sooner rather than later. I just didn't want to, put any pressure on anything for right now. But basically, this is kind of a mixed bag, if you will, of topics that we're going to just kind of just quick fire. We're going to give our thoughts on. We're not going to divulge like 20, 30 minutes on, and we're just going to freaking hit it. We're going to give our quick thoughts on it and then move to the next topic. We've got 3 that we're going to hit today. We're going to be talking Arch Manning committing to Texas, the European Tour banning live golfers from European tournaments, such as the Scottish Open, and a brief update on the Stanley Cup Finals. Are you ready, my good friend?
I am.
You ready?
I am.
All right. Well, let's get your quick thoughts on Arch Manning, the number 1 overall quarterback, of the class of 2023, committing to the University of Texas.
All right. Before we get started, it's gonna be 1 minute.
Okay,
So,
1 minute, hit it,
yeah.
quit it. Let's go. Let's get it.
1 minute. All
Let's
right.
go.
You ready?
Yep.
All right, let's go.
All right.
Okay, so Arch Manning, I think it's a great pick. I think it's great for him going to Texas. Not deciding to go to Ole Miss, not deciding to go to Tennessee, whereas uncles went. I think that it's great for the Texas franchise. We kind of talked off air about this, just about how, Texas is an interesting school. Texas has been a little bit up and down, especially with their coaching staff and just with everything that's been going on. The great quote of "we're back," for Texas is great. I think he's going to have a great college career there, playing, how many years he plays before he decides to go pro. I also think it's a great recruiting process for them. Getting Arch Manning, I think a lot of wide receivers, I think a lot of defensive players are going to try to come and play for Texas and bring that culture back to Texas. I know Kevin is probably jumping for joy for Texas right now.
How do we not have him here today?
I know, right? Exactly. But I think it's a really big pickup for Arch Manning and for the Manning family and for Texas football.
Very nice. In 1 minute. Very cool. Yes. University. Oh, well, there we got the alarm going here.
Yeah, man. We got to.
It's official, and I'll let you get set while I just wrap it up here. Arch Manning, yes, committing to the University of Texas over schools like the University of Georgia, University of Alabama. He has received the 1.00 rating by 24/7 Sports Composite, the most prestigious mark in recruiting. Texas has had a great history of quarterbacks: Vince Young, Colt McCoy, Quinn Ewers now that has recently transferred from the University of the Ohio State. And yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how the domino effect falls here. But yeah, Texas really getting ready for their move to the SEC. Moving on to the European Tour, banning LIV golfers from the Scottish Open. The European Tour banned golfers who competed in the Saudi-backed breakaway LIV series from 3 upcoming tournaments, including the Scottish Open, and fined them each $123,000. Anthony, will you please give me your thoughts on the LIV Tour?
The LIV Tour, I mean, I don't really know a lot of information on this, but I think that at the end of the day, I did watch an interview. It's just interesting, man. And I mean, I think that the reason why they banned them is because, it was for a bigger reason than golf, obviously. It's fair because it is the players. It's not like the PGA. They're not going to ban the PGA. I mean, we all know that, for one. But I think that for the players that did do the time or did the crime, they deserve the time with the money getting fined. I think it's a fair amount. I think getting 100,000 pounds, which is $123,000 for each player, I think that's fair. And I mean, you don't really hear a lot about that with golfers. But I mean, I really don't know a lot of information on the topic, but I know you'll probably refresh my memory on it. But I think it's fair. I mean, it's well deserved, I think.
Absolutely, and there is the timer.
That one was all over the place. I'm sorry. That was wild.
Listen, I'm putting you on the spot, and you're handling it really well. Good job. Brooks Koepka, officially joined the LIV Tour earlier this week. Had previously been announced as a part of the Scottish Open field. He joins men such as Louis Oosthuizen, Sergio Garcia, Martin Kamer, Phil Mickelson, among others who have joined the LIV Tour. This is going to be very interesting to see how the PGA Tour reacts to the LIV Tour and how they are essentially, getting these golfers to come play overseas. And so very, very breaking news here on the Fools and Stools podcast for our last topic. I just want to get your quick thoughts, Anthony. I'm going to be breaking this down to you live. The Tampa Bay Lightning did defeat the Colorado Avalanche 3-2 tonight to extend the series to a Game 6. Colorado still leads the series 3-2. Our man Tyler Luker did say that the Tampa Bay Lightning were going to win in 7 games. Now, Colorado, if his prediction is correct, then Tampa Bay is going to win the next 2 and win the Stanley Cup. Colorado's already gotten their 1 win to fulfill Tyler's proclamation. Based on everything that you know about hockey, do you believe in Tyler, or do you believe that the Colorado Avalanche are going to secure the Stanley Cup?
I believe in tea time.
You believe in them?
I believe in them. The Tampa Bay Lightning, they have been in this position before. Last series, they won in 6. They don't let it go to a Game 7. This series, they're going to let it go to Game 7, obviously.
Okay.
I believe in the Tampa Bay Lightning. They have been in this position multiple times. Now, the thing I'll have to say is that last game that they played before this one, there was some controversy. But last year, the same thing happened for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they did win that game against another team last year. So I mean, I'm happy that Tampa Bay are winning, that they won this game. I think it's going to show some adversity. It's going to be a tough one for Game 6. They are now, 3-2 for Colorado. But I think the Lightning are going to try to three-peat this one. I think they're going to, come out with that with a lot of strength. They got one of the best goalies in the league, and I think they're going to win this one, and I think it's done for the Avalanche. I'm sorry.
Wow. All right, so you're officially rolling with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the timer goes off with time to spare.
I know. It's crazy, man.
Hey, man, this is the first edition of the Mixed Bag. Anthony Council.
Hey.
Give yourself a round of applause, my friend.
I appreciate it, man.
That was really well. Did you know that the North American's oldest professional sports trophy is the Stanley Cup?
That's an old trophy, man.
That's a very old trophy. But
so Stanley Cup, Super Bowl trophy, or Finals
NBA
trophy.
Finals. Well, which one would I rather have? Or
Yeah.
I mean, I'm naturally a football guy, so I'll say that. But like the prestige of the Stanley Cup, listen, and the partying that it's like there's levels to the stuff that players will do with the Stanley Cup that you just don't see with the NBA Finals and the Super Bowl trophy. Respect to both of them, but the Stanley Cup, you got to give it respect.
Yeah.
You have to. So, but Anthony, was there anything else that you wanted to say before we get out of here for hour number 1 here on the Fools on Stools podcast?
I got to say, this was a fun one for hour 1. I did like the mixed bag. The mixed bag was very fun. Tune in to hour 2 of the Fools on Stools podcast with me and Cullen Brown, Anthony Council and Cullen Brown, and Kevin Walker is enjoying the Bahamas. So, he's
with us in spirit.
He's with us in spirit. He's with us in spirit for sure. But tune in to hour 2. Follow us on the Fools on Stools podcast. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and anywhere where you get your podcast, as well as Instagram and Twitter. Like we always say, grab a stool, be a fool, and we'll see y'all in hour number 2.